finding Daniel. Where is Daniel at? There it is. Where did he go? While we're finding Daniel 6, don't forget Bible study Tuesday nights at 6 o'clock. If you haven't been joining, we're doing 1 Corinthians, and it's getting good. And Thursday night, Phillips Creek does 7 o'clock. We really need to get the word out, y'all, for people to come to the 7 o'clock meeting, because it's good for people to become and be supportive of each other. We've got several people that were coming that have fallen back into addiction. We've got several people that were coming that have had to go into treatment again. So everybody needs prayers. Other than that, this month is kind of the slowdown from the last couple of months, and everybody's so busy and everything. Don't forget, if you're donating, put your donations back there so we can help people as they come and pay the church bills. So Daniel 6. This is a very, very familiar story. Most kids know this story, right? Of Daniel being thrown in the lion's den. But, oh my gosh, y'all, God gave me such a huge revelation in this story that I had never seen before. So I'm going to share that with you. So starting in verse 1, it says, it pleased Darius, who was the king at the time, to appoint 120 satraps to rule throughout the kingdom, with 3 administrators over them, and one of those were Daniel. Now, satraps, I guess that's how you say it. I don't know. Johanna, satraps.
I don't know. It says princes.
Sounds right, princes.
So what it is, it's like a governor. Okay, he set governors over his kingdom, and then he set someone above them, and one of those above them was Daniel. So he was at a high position, and it says that the governors were made accountable to them, so that the king might not suffer loss. So those governors had to go to the administrative, had to go to Daniel to kind of check in on what was going on in the kingdom, so that the king didn't have to deal with all that mess, right? And they would keep everything going like it was supposed to be in the kingdom. And now Daniel was so distinguished himself as among the administrators and the governors by his exceptional qualities that the king planned to set him over the whole kingdom. Said also that Daniel was a very good-looking man. He was very intelligent, smart, accomplished. And so at this, the administrators and the governors tried to find grounds for charge against Daniel in his conduct of the government affairs. You ever know people that's jealous? Jealous of what God's got going on with you. Jealous that you've got things that they don't have. Jealous that God shows favor on you wherever you go. And quickly, whenever you're drawing close to the Lord, whenever you're starting to rise in your faith, in your position, people are going to try to bring you down. It says that they were jealous over Daniel, and it says that they tried to find fault in him, but were unable to. They could find no corruption in him because he was trustworthy, neither corrupt nor negligent. I hope that when the Lord comes back, he finds me, right? I hope he finds me without corruption. I hope he finds me trustworthy, that he could trust me with what he had blessed me with. They couldn't find any corruption in him. And finally, these men got together and they said, we're never going to find any basis to charge this man, anything against this man, Daniel, unless it has something to do with God. So these administrators and these governors went on as a group to the king, and they said, King Darius, live forever. The royal administrators and prefects and satraps and advisors and governors have all agreed that the king should issue an edict and enforce the decree that anyone who prays to any other god or human being during the next 30 days, except to you, your majesty, shall be thrown into the lion's den. So these group of men that seen Daniel, they couldn't find anything else wrong with him. He was walking right. He was doing everything that God required of him. And so these people were looking on to him and saying, man, we got to find something about him. We got to get him thrown out of this position that he's in. There's people that are watching you if you're an example of Jesus. If you're walking the path, the path that God has set for you, if they're seeing that God is showing favor over your life, if they're seeing that you're moving up into positions, and I'm not talking about a position of highness that you can look down at people. I'm talking about when God starts raising you in the kingdom, when he starts giving you faith in things that you ain't never had faith before. I'm talking about when instead of complaining about how bad you're hurting today, you start walking around praising God that you can still get around. The things that we sometimes take for granted. There's people laying in the hospital right now that are sick from this flu mess going around, and they can't even breathe. And here we are, got breath because God gave it to you. Yes. Now what will we do with it? So this group of people came and they said, you know what? We can't find anything that he's doing wrong except for he trusts his God. Wow. That's powerful. So they said, we're going to take him out. The enemy has a little crosshair on you. He said, look, I can't find anything that they're doing except for they trust their God. They have faith in him. So let me see if I can take him out. Now, y'all remember there's so many stories in the Bible. Job was what come to mind when I was reading this story. Satan came and said, God, remember he came and he said, look, I've been, going back and forth looking for somebody to tear down. He said, oh, you remember Job? And God said, you remember Job? Yeah, he's my faithful servant. Do anything you want to, but you can't kill him. Satan has to come and plot against you, but God allows it. And if he allows it, it's because he wants to make a spectacle out of you. He wants people to see what he can do, not what you can do. So Daniel, this group of people came against him and said, look, we got to figure something out. So they go to the king and they say, King, your majesty. They flatter him, right? They say, oh, we should all bow to you. We should all hail you as king. And you know what? We're going to put this special policy in place for the next 30 days. That anybody that doesn't come to you for their needs, anybody that doesn't praise and worship you only, shall be thrown in the lion's den. And so King Darius answers to him and says, and they say, now, your majesty, issue this decree and put it in writing so that it cannot be altered in accordance with the law of the Medes and the Persians, which cannot be repealed. And so King Darius put the decree in writing. Now, if you look up the Medes and the Persians and their decree stuff, it just basically meant that once it was put into writing as like a policy or law or whatever, and the king would stamp it with his ring, nobody could change it, not even him. It couldn't be changed. You know what they say about the word?
Can't be changed.
Can't be changed. It's written. Now, when Daniel learned about the decree and that it had been published, he went home to his upstairs room where the windows opened towards Jerusalem. And 3 times a day he had got down on his knees and prayed and given thanks to God, just as he had done before. Notice that it says that he had always done that. And this was not going to change it. The plot of the enemy did not change what he did in his daily routine. And so it says, as soon as he realized that this had been written into a policy, so it wasn't like he wasn't aware, but what did he do? He went right on home and said, let me get down in position and do what I know to do and pray to the one I know who's going to uphold me during this situation, because he couldn't do anything about it. He wasn't above the king. He was one of the king's employees, but he wasn't above the king. There was nothing he could do to change this. Let me tell you, there's some things, God has given me this as I'm telling you. There's some things going on in your life that you can't do nothing about. There's things going on in your life that you have no control to change, but you better get into position to pray to the one who can. Are you hearing what I'm saying? He said Daniel knew what was going on. He knew the plot of the enemy, but he said, let me go to the one to pray to who I've done before, because why? I did not know until this morning that Daniel's almost 80 years old by this point. I always thought of him to be, a younger man. He's 80. Yeah, 30, 40, somewhere around there. No, he's 80. I can imagine by 80 years old, he's pretty much figured out who God is. I can imagine by 80 years old, he's pretty much figured out that when he went to him and prayed, that some things happened. At 80 years old, he has some faith that is probably some unshakable faith. But guess what? We don't have to be 80 to know that. He heard what was going on. He went right home. He said, let me go right on home and get to that window that I open up and pray to the one that I know can do something. Maybe he's not going to change what was written, but he's going to get me through this situation. So he went home and he said, I'm going to pray just like I have. And he prayed 3 times a day. He got down on his knees and prayed. I know a lot of people, I do it too. When we walk through the house, we're cleaning, we're praying in our head. I know a lot of people that pray every morning when they wake up. They pray every time they eat a meal. They pray every night when they go to bed. We have ritual prayers that we say, okay? We have ritual times when we're just praying to God like he's sitting there next to us. That is fine and dandy. But let me tell you something. I believe that when Daniel got down on his knees that time, that he was praying up something because he knew something was coming that he weren't going to have no say-so in. There's a difference when you get down on your knees and when you're at the feet of God, feet of Jesus, and you're saying, Lord, I don't know what's going to happen in a minute, but I'm trusting and believing that you're the one I need to lay this down at because I don't have any control. I imagine that Veronica laying up in that hospital with cancer, literally from the top of her head to the bottom of her feet. I'll be honest with you. I haven't really prayed for a miraculous healing of cancer from her body. Because, not that I don't think God can. Not that I don't think God can. But that woman has lost her faith and hope in the Lord. Her husband is a self-proclaimed non-believer. We need more than a physical healing here. We need to get down and pray for some things to be delivered, some people to be delivered, some people to be shaken in their seat. And so this is the kind of prayer that Daniel was praying. It says, now, let me find my place. 3 times a day he got down on his knees and prayed, giving thanks to the Lord just as he has done before. And then these men went as a group and found Daniel praying and asking God for help. Don't you know they were around the corner just waiting? They knew who Daniel was. They knew that he had done it over and over and over, that he was a faithful. Remember in the beginning it said he was a faithful, trustworthy man, and the only fault he had was that he served his God. They were waiting. There's people that are waiting for you to falter, waiting for you to fall and fall down and just lay down and give up. There's people that are waiting for you to give up your hope in God. There's people that are waiting and watching and saying, well, wait until this happens. Right? There's people that are watching and waiting for you to fail. Now, we're all going to fall short. We're all going to have moments. We're all going to get scared at times. And we know that God doesn't hold that against us. It's important to get back up and keep going. But there's people that are waiting and watching you to see, how are you going to handle when you get sick? How are you going to handle when you lose your job? How are you going to handle when you can't pay your light bill this week? How are you going to handle when McDonald's gives you a cheeseburger with a bite taken out of it? How are you going to handle things? They're waiting. They're watching. So, then y'all remind me, I got my glasses on my head. All right, 3 times a day, got down, these men went as a group and found Daniel praying and asking God for help. So they went to the king. Boy, they rushed that king. They said, King, did you not publish a decree that during the next 30 days, anyone that prays to another god or human, to a god or another human besides you, your majesty, that you were going to throw him in the lion's den? And the king says, the decree still stands. In accordance with the law of Medes and Persians, which cannot be repealed. And then they said to the king, well, guess what? Daniel is one of the exiles from Judah, pays no attention to you, your majesty, or to the decree you put in writing, and he's still praying 3 times a day. And when the king heard this, he was greatly distressed, and he was determined to rescue Daniel and made every effort until sundown to save him. When I read that last sentence, all of a sudden God showed me this. That's how the Lord is with us. That's how God is with us. See, they brought forth accusing Daniel of sinning against the king. They said, your majesty, remember when you put that in writing that nobody could worship anything or anybody but you? Well, look, he's guilty. Do you know that's what the enemy does to us? He goes to God and says, look what she did. Lord, do you remember when you said, thou shalt not lie? She told a lie. That's what Satan does. He's busy accusing us to God. He's busy. But when the king heard this and he was distressed, he was determined to rescue Daniel and made every effort until sundown to save him. Do you know that God makes every effort to spare you until the very end? It says until sundown, which means until midnight, until the darkest day, until the next morning, right? God makes every effort to spare you from hell, every chance until the very end. He gives us every opportunity to come to him. Satan can accuse you and accuse you and accuse you. He can go to God and say, look what she's doing. But you know what? It's okay because I got the blood that covers me. That's why. Because God gave his son to die for your sins, but if you don't accept that, and if you don't trust that, and if you don't believe that, then it does you no good. He died for everybody, but everybody doesn't accept that. You ever tried to help somebody and they're like, no, I don't want your help. No, I don't want it. I don't want it. That's what you're doing to the Lord if you say, no, I'd rather do it my way. It's so sad when you run into people and they continue to try to do it their way. And you have the answer. And they don't want the answer. It says, the king was greatly distressed because he wanted to figure out how to rescue Daniel. But he couldn't. Because he was bound to what? His word. the word he had written. Okay, think about that. He was bound to the word he had written, but he was distressed because he wanted to save Daniel. Okay? All right, and then it says, then the men went as a group to King Darius and said, oh, I've already read that, right? No. Then the men went as a group to King Darius and said to him, remember, your majesty, that according to the law of the Medes and the Persians, no decree or edict that the king issued can be changed. They probably saw the sadness fall over his face. They're probably like, okay, we found one. They're not doing what you said to do. And they see like his countenance change, and they're like, but remember, your word, you can't change it. The written word. So it says, so the king gave the order, and they brought Daniel and threw him into the lion's den. Why do you think the king was distressed? The king had been lifted to this position. He was high up here on a pedestal, but he loved Daniel. Daniel had been good to him. He had been a good man. He had done all the things that he needed him to do. He saw that he worshipped a God that answered him too. Even though King Darius didn't worship the same God. So the king gave the order and said, bring Daniel to me, and he threw him in the lion's den. And the king said to Daniel, may your God, whom you serve continually, rescue you. See, he couldn't do it, but he already knew who could. A stone was brought and placed over the mouth of the den, and the king sealed it with his own signet ring and with the rings of his nobles, and so that Daniel's situation might not be changed. And then the king returned to his palace and spent the next night doing what? Fasting. See, God is so intentional, y'all. I had this word last week, part of it. I had the story in this word last week, and this brought me to it because we were going to start our fast. But God said, no, not yet. And so I was like, okay. But this is the part that drew me last week. The king, who doesn't even believe in the same God, went back to his palace. Remember what it said about Daniel? It says as soon as he heard, he went back to his home and started praying to the God he knew. This king that don't even know the same God went back to his home and started fasting. It says he went without anything to eat and without any entertainment. We're fasting entertainment, y'all. God is intentional. Without any entertainment being brought to him, and he couldn't sleep. The king that didn't even know the same God, but had seen how Daniel worshiped his God. And he said he was so distressed that he didn't eat, didn't have entertainment. He just wanted to be alone. And at the first dawn, the king gets up, jumps up, runs out there, kind of like I did that morning with the frappe, y'all. I ain't gonna lie. I jumped up that first morning, I could have one, and I told Philip, I said, what time does McDonald's open? And then I told Kelly later, I said, I felt so daggone bad for that. I weren't there at 5:30, y'all, but I got up and went and got one. But I told Kelly, I said, Kelly, it wasn't even worth it when I got it. It really weren't. It really weren't. And then fasting Facebook, this morning I went up there to look at some things that I had needed to look up, and I was just like, I hadn't really missed this. Really, seriously. Because all it was a bunch of drama. It's a bunch of drama, and gosh knows, I don't know how many of them videos about that stuff going on.
It's funny how habits are like that.
Yeah.
Just
do it. Just do it. Anyway, even the king. So at first dawn, that king got up and runs to that lion's den. And when he came near the den, he called Daniel in an anguished voice, because he just knew. He said, Daniel, servant of the living God. Look, does somebody call you a servant of the living God? Is that how you're, what do you call it? Not recognized. Huh?
labeled.
label. Is that your label? Does that label come with you? He said, Daniel, servant of the living God, has your God, whom you serve continually, been able to rescue you from the lions? And Daniel says, may the king live forever. My God sent his angel and shut the mouths of the lions. They have not hurt me because I was found innocent in his sight. Nor have I done any wrong to you. He wasn't guilty. Okay, now, let me show you what God showed me. I've read this story 100 times, heard it when I was a kid, heard it when I was 20, heard it, I've heard it, and I've always had this visual in my head that they threw him in the lion's den, and they put a rock over it, and the lions were circling them, and that God that God kept the lions from attacking them. That's as far as my vision went, that the lions didn't attack them. But let me tell you what the word says. It says he shut the mouths of the lion. See, when a lion gets near and close to their prey and they're figuring out how they're going to attack, a lion roars and it makes their prey kind of shrink because they know what's coming. He didn't just keep the lions from eating Daniel. He shut their mouth. He shut their mouth. You know what? We need to stop saying, God, please save me from the enemy. We need to start praying, shut his mouth. Shut him down. I don't even want to hear what he's got to say to me no more. I'm tired of hearing his voice louder than yours. Shut him down. See, it wasn't enough just to keep the lions from destroying him. He said, no, my servant's going to sleep in peace tonight. Yeah, right? He's going to sleep in peace tonight amongst his enemy. We give the enemy too much power, y'all. We don't shut him down. We don't say, shut your mouth, I ain't got to hear you no more. God just brought to my mind what happened the other night. And this is why. I was laying in bed and I was sound asleep. And I don't sleep good at night, y'all. And I had gone to sleep about 10:30. At 12:30, I had rolled on my left side towards Philip. And all of a sudden, my heart just started doing this crazy mess it does at night. And I don't feel it during the day, but at night when I'm laying there in the darkness and my mind is racing with all kinds of thoughts, my heart will start doing this crazy mess, like now. And it scares me. And I start thinking about all these things. And I start listening to the enemy's voice. And I start hearing him tell me how unworthy I am. And how my girls are not living for God. And how some of the other kids ain't living for God either. And how if I'd have done this and if I'd have done that. And you're going to die tonight. And I'm getting ready to send you to God that you believe. All this mess, y'all. Or you're not doing right by summer. You should have had more patience today. Or maybe you should have prayed harder for your husband. It's all kinds of mess that goes through my head. And I lay there and listen to it. And the longer I lay there and listen to it, and the harder my heart beat, and I started giving into that fears, into them voices. And before long, I was planning my own funeral. And getting scared. And worrying. God, I can't leave yet. I gotta get my girls right. I gotta see it, Lord. I want Summer to grow up, and I want her to be okay. And Lord, forgive me for these things. And my heart's going crazy, and my fear's going up, and I'm starting to panic. I can feel my breath going away. If you ain't never had a panic attack, you don't know what I'm talking about. But it's scary. And I'm all alone. I'm in the darkness. I didn't want to wake Philip up. I rolled over. And I'm like, okay, God. And I'm looking at my watch trying to see what my heart's doing because I feel like I'm going crazy because it's beating so hard. And Philip feels me kind of, I guess, moving around, and he says, "What's wrong?" And I said, "Honey, my heart's going crazy." And he said, "You're okay." And I just kept laying there. And all of a sudden, y'all, this is during our fast now. This is, I think, day 2. All of a sudden, the Lord starts bringing the word to me. And let me tell y'all something. That spirit dropped down in me, and I said, "In the name of Jesus, shut your mouth. I am not going to lay here and give you any power over me. You don't have dominion over my body. My heart beats in a perfect rhythm because my Creator created it that way. My body works according to your word. It works because you put it together. My girls are already saved because remember you gave me the word that you promised peace on my children. My household will serve you no matter what. In the name of Jesus, my heart can beat out of my chest, but it won't have victory over me." Shut your mouth. And let me tell you something. The words were flying in my head. You know why? Because I had put the other crap to the side and had been reading my word more. It was in my heart and it was hid away. Listen to me. Stop allowing the enemy to talk to you. Quit letting him even talk to you. This word says he shut the mouths of the lions. They couldn't roar at him. They couldn't make sounds and scare him before they ate him. Because God said, "No, you can lay down in peace tonight." I done shut their mouth. This is powerful, y'all. It's powerful. Because what we do is we don't shut them down when we first hear the words coming in our ears. We keep listening to him. We keep letting him roar in our ears until we no longer believe what God said in the word. It's powerful. He said, "No, my God sent an angel and just shut their mouths. They ain't hurt me. I'm innocent. Satan don't have no victory over me, y'all. I don't care if I die in my bed tonight. He ain't got no victory over me because I know where I'm going. When I close my eyes here, I'm going to open them up there. I'll see you when you get there." Do I want to go today? No. My flesh doesn't want to leave because I love my kids. I want to see the things that God has for us. But if he takes me today, he's not going to take the Satan ain't going to have victory over me. He ain't going to take nothing from me. I'll gladly give it to God. But it said, "They have not hurt me because I was found innocent in his sight. Nor have I done anything wrong to you either." And the king was overjoyed and gave orders to lift Daniel out of that den. And when Daniel was lifted out of the den, not a wound was found on him because he trusted God. And at the king's command, the men who had falsely accused Daniel were brought and dumped into the lion's den along with their wives and children. And before they even reached the floor, the lions had overpowered and crushed their bones. Your enemy will pay the price. You ain't got to do nothing. Your enemies will pay the price. That's another thing. We get caught up in making people pay for what they've done to us. Leave that to God. He's got it. Your enemies will pay the price. You just got to stay focused on what you're doing. What you're doing. I also want to say this. God's word is his written word. He cannot go against it. No matter what you do, no matter what they do. He cannot go against his word, but he will uphold his word. His word is just. And it says, he'd go to the ends of the earth to spare you, but you have to get in line with it. Even Jesus had to use the word, call it out to the enemy. Even Jesus had to do it. If Jesus had to do it, why do you think you don't have to do it? It's not just about giving up something. It's about getting these distractions out of our way so that we can read the word, so we know what God says, so that when the enemy starts talking to you, you can recognize his voice and shut him up. Shut him up. Don't even let him whisper the first word to you. That night, when I lay there, when I finally had all I could take and started calling out the truth and shut him down, my heart, just like that, I got up, went to the bathroom, come back, lay down in the bed, and my heart was just as perfect as it could be. The anxiety was gone, and I was taking breaths, and I rolled over, pulled the blanket over me, and went right back to sleep. Peace. That's what I called out, peace. I know it's after 12, y'all, and if you got to go, please go. But we have one more song. And during the song, if there's something that you've been praying for during this fast, something that you need deliverance from, somebody you've been praying for, I'm going to remind you, I'm just going to throw this out there. The word says, deny me in front of your friends and peers, and I'll deny you in the end. I want people to have the guts to come up here during this song and lay it at the altar. Pray the way Daniel prayed when he knew there was nothing else that was going to spare him but God. Come up here and pray for somebody. Pray for yourself, whatever it is that you need to do.